All right, what is up, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from blueandgold.com with our football analyst Tim Hyde. We are live, kicking this show off Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time, as we always do. This Notre Dame football show, a lot more heavy on the actual team than recruiting. It's a little slower on the recruiting side, which plays a part into it, but it's a very interesting time, obviously, coming off this Ohio State loss to talk some Notre Dame football. So, Tim, just how you doing, man? You hanging in there? You're still with us, so that's good.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited. Here we are Wednesday, onto a new game. But no, it was awesome. Obviously, we had a great time after the game. And hey, real quick, I just want to say kudos to all these blue and gold fans, man. The show Saturday was crazy. The video we did with Chris Zorich was awesome. The viewerships and the hundreds upon hundreds of comments we've gotten. I know I try and respond to everybody. I love talking Notre Dame football with everybody. So thank you guys, everyone out there who's been commenting. It's been on my mind since after Saturday. That was a great show. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, record viewership, at least for live concurrence. I think we were over 1,600 at one point, which is pretty darn good. And Tim, I do appreciate you hopping on.
Thanks.
45 minutes in and just kind of chatting it up with us. Yeah, we usually go about an hour for these live shows, but that one was a 2-hour show, a little over
That's
2
awesome.
hours because why not?
Why
The
not?
super chats we're just rolling in left and right. So if you're new to the show and maybe you just found us after the Ohio State game, we go live on YouTube 2-3 times a week. Definitely the Wednesday night show. This Saturday we won't have a post-game show. I will be in St. Louis, seeing some recruits, and don't get back in time. But Tim and I will do a video on Sunday. I'll go live with Goolsby Sunday night to talk about the game and what's next for the Irish. And this Wednesday live show is a staple for us at Blue and Gold. So, good stuff around the corner. And if you go to our Blue and Gold YouTube page, we post a ton of crap. I mean, we're doing like 3 videos a day on some topics, whether it's a press conference or recruiting or previewing the game with the opponent, beat writer, all sorts of good stuff. So make sure you lock into this channel and go ahead and hit the thumbs up on the page if you are if you're watching us live or watching back. Subscribe to our channel if you are not yet. Joey, Rick, appreciate the comments. If you're listening via podcast, appreciate you as well. We always recommend to go over to YouTube. We think that's the best way to take in our content. Tim, you drinking a beer tonight, man?
Oh yeah, always. Anytime we're talking Notre Dame football, I'm gonna enjoy a nice cold one with all of us blue and gold fans out there.
Yeah. So I'm drinking beers again. Sammy Adams Oktoberfest. So, no more Bud Light seltzer cocktail, raspberry fruit seltzer, whatever, that my wife's always buying. Although I do like those sometimes, but good Oktoberfest for me. If you guys have questions for Tim or myself, you can ask any recruiting question for me, and then any team analysis for Tim. Drop a super chat, and we will get to it right away. So, Tim, we have a lot to discuss. I have things I want to talk about that I feel pretty fired up about. I'm kind of still debating if we want to go there, so we'll just kind of see the flow of the show. But we will start off nice and easy with the best thing you saw since our last show, which was last Wednesday night. What is it, Tim?
Oh, the best thing I saw was the viewership for the game Saturday. That was something I know we talked about a couple weeks ago. Was is it going to hit 10 million? Because last year the Labor Day big game was Clemson and Georgia last year, and it was about 8.5 million. This one over 10.5, which is massive. Look at that. What Tyler Horka at Blue and Gold posted there, biggest since 2017. So great viewership. Obviously a great game. It's just, once again, the Notre Dame brand, as we start talking TV, playoffs, conferences, all these things, it shows you how important Notre Dame is out there to college football. So that was I was really excited to see that number.
Yeah, for any folks saying Notre Dame's irrelevant, my father-in-law was over this past weekend. He said, you love Notre Dame or you hate Notre Dame. There's not really much in between, but at least people have opinions of the school. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of people feel indifferent towards Michigan. I know that's not the case for Notre Dame fans, but like just a lot of people feel different about Michigan or Michigan State or in Illinois, whatever, Northwestern, but Notre Dame, yeah, you love or hate. So, yeah, mine is which kind of goes into what I was discussing earlier. Tim was, if I want to get into this, is this whole thing. This has been my point. If someone's watching like all of our YouTube content, you're probably so sick of hearing me talk about this, but this whole point on your expectations.
Yeah.
So I'm a Liverpool European football fan. That's my favorite, soccer club. And we were supposed to win today playing Napoli. I mean, we were favorites going into the game. Liverpool lost 4-1. I'm pissed. Tim. I really am pissed. They were supposed to win, and then we got routed by 3 goals, right?
Real quick, Mike, is that Ted Lasso's team?
No.
Okay. All right, good to go.
No, that's a made-up team. It's a great flick. But, like, if it were flipped and, Liverpool were – or if you're a Napoli fan and you're – or, no, what am I trying to say here? If Liverpool is a big underdog – and lost by a goal or something, you're like, and fought really hard, you would, feel rather good about it. I feel like that's kind of the same thing with Notre Dame right now, is that they were underdogs against Ohio State, 17-point dogs. And this is I promise this is going to get into my best thing of the week. I promise. Notre Dame were these heavy dogs, and they fought hard. The final score was 11 points, but I mean, that was a tight game that Notre Dame looked really good throughout. And, Ohio State got that fourth quarter touchdown to kind of separate themselves. But Notre Dame went from number 5 to number 8 after a loss. That is not much of a drop off at all. And that's kind of the media saying, we thought a lot worse. We thought that you were going to get destroyed, and we were actually rather impressed by you. Ohio State dropped a spot because of Georgia, because Georgia just dismantled Oregon. So Notre Dame's number 8 in the AP poll, and then the coaches poll, they're 9. So dropping 3 and 4 spots. So, Tim, any thoughts on kind of my, you've heard me say that several times at this point.
No. I mean, it was a good football game. Notre Dame obviously, was the underdog. I mean, when you do the 17.5-point spread, they were basically Ohio State was favored to win 42-28 when you break it down. That's probably what the odds makers said. Oh, we'll give them because new DC, Coach Knowles, they're not going to be that good, all that good stuff. So everyone thought they were going to win basically 42-20-ish. So was the prediction, and Notre Dame played their tails off, man. They really did. When you rewatch the game and look at it, the Buckeyes are better. Someone may not like if I say that. They're the better football team. They were over the course. See, I've coached a long, long time in this world, and it's like football games. It's a game. It's over the course of 60 minutes, obviously at the college level. And over the course of 60 minutes, they proved that they were the better football team. Notre Dame played their tails off. Notre Dame is one play away from going into the fourth quarter, either 10-10 or 10-7 until the infamous double safety blitz. They were right there with the Buckeyes. So they got a lot of respect going into Columbus, the number 2 team, the Heisman Trophy favorite, all those things. And, Notre Dame should have got their, heads kicked in, and they didn't. They battled the number 2 team down to the end of the fourth quarter. And yeah, and rightfully so. They should not be knocked out of the top 10. And, and it's a long season. Things are going to play out. And, I know we'll talk later about, expectations, what's Notre Dame going to do the rest of the way. But the media is saying, you're right there, Notre Dame. Finish this schedule, get yourself to Clemson, and let's see where the ball bounces on that night.
Yeah. So I'm sure you watched Marcus Freeman's press conference Monday, and he was asked about the double safety blitz. And, he defended the play call a little bit, and I don't want to say he threw his players under the bus, but it was a little bit of if Ohio State came out in a certain way, they weren't supposed to blitz, and they still did. So I guess Freeman just kind of told the truth. What did you make of his reaction?
Well, number one, Ohio State is an 11 personnel every single play. So what drastic, crazy formation, were they in? Stover, number 8, is out on the field all the time. He's their hip tight end. He's their motion guy. He's their blocker. He's basically a glorified fullback. So he's out there all the time. So I don't know what crazy formation. They come out in bunch, motion, quads, all kinds of wild stuff. If anything, as we've talked a ton about that, is they had a chance to call it off because Bracy had cramps, comes off the field. And I found it interesting that Al Golden talked about that play, because that's what coordinators do. You start thinking situations, scenarios, a play or two down the road. And Golden had already messaged to the defensive staff and Marcus Freeman, like, hey, thinking about calling this blitz if we get to this situation. And it came, and Freeman said, run it. So they did, and it was a great throw. The blitz didn't get there. What's funny is Foskey did not play good football, and that's probably his best pass rush of the night. He is literally half a step away from getting CJ Stroud. And if they don't blitz, he's getting a sack. So that's the irony of that play. They would have knocked him out, maybe not even gotten a field goal. It would have been 4th and 20 plus, because he would have had a sack if they had a safety in the middle of the field. But they gambled. They went for it. They wanted to attack CJ Stroud, and the rest is history.
Yeah, obviously didn't work out there at the end. Yeah. I want to comment, Tim, on the moral victory discussion.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a moral victory and taking positives from the game? It's just semantics. I mean, I think moral victory, when people say, oh, yeah, it's not a moral victory, it's just much Marcus Freeman said, but like there's positives to take from a game. It's not like we're saying that if Notre Dame loses a game, fire everybody stinks. I'm seeing fire Golden, I'm seeing fire Tommy Reese in our YouTube comments. It's like there are positives. It's we're not saying hand out a participation trophy for Notre Dame when we're talking about the these positives that come from a game. So I just keep seeing how there's no moral victories, but like, I mean, what's the difference between a moral victory and just taking a positive from a game? I don't know. I cringe when I see that now.
Well, to me, the moral victory is when your program's in development and you go and battle Ohio State till the end. So if Notre Dame's unranked, they're coming off a 8-5 season, and they just played in the Champ Sports Bowl or something like that, the Mayo Bowl. That, to me, that's a moral victory. When you're the number 5 team in the country, should be expected to win that, especially with the program Marcus Freeman inherited.
You said that word expect. That's my favorite word because I didn't think Notre Dame was going to win. I got crap for picking Notre Dame.
Yes.
And now I've been getting crap for not bashing Notre Dame enough. I'm just like, I don't know what you people want me to do. But Tim, how about this point?
But that's a prediction. You're allowed to predict. Hold on. Yeah, that's a prediction. And you thought Ohio State was favored. So did 99% of America. So you didn't, you weren't doing nothing crazy. And
it was the
people attacking someone to pick Notre Dame or opposite Notre Dame. I mean, come on.
Vocal minority came after me. But how many championships Ohio State won? In the past 30 years. So I get where you're coming at, where, the rebuilding thing, but I think you can make the argument that Ohio State is a step ahead of Notre Dame right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
So,
well, I mean, they just played in the Fiesta Bowl after the 2015 season, and Ohio State just toyed with them. So, I mean, they are the better football program. They are, since Urban Meyer's taken over that program, and Ryan Day's kept it going, and there's no doubt about that. Brian Kelly had to take over a train wreck of a program after Davey, Willingham, Weiss, and Kelly got it going. And now it's up to Freeman to keep the mojo, rolling from there. So, yeah, I mean, moral victories are when you're an underdog, when you're rebuilding, things of that nature. But when you're a top 10 program, which in the blue and gold yearbook I brought up a week or two ago, where the only 2 teams that have averaged 30 points and under 20 points on defense and over 30 on offense in the last 4 years are Notre Dame and Alabama. So Notre Dame is up there in the upper echelon. You just got to win one of these damn football games.
Yeah. Notre Dame's good enough to win it for sure. I tweeted out at halftime. I was like, no, I think Notre Dame's the better team because I think they were. They looked outstanding. I thought Reese called a good game in the first half. Very scripted. The defense was outstanding. Cam Hart got picked on a little bit, but otherwise, it was strong. So I think that, look, Notre Dame fans, like I'm a journalist first and foremost, and not a Notre Dame fan first and foremost. So I think I come out with unpopular opinions too much because, a lot of the fans are like, oh, we're going to win. And I'm like, I think they're going to lose. And then Notre Dame loses. And I'm like, I think they played really well in a loss, but it's, oh no, we lost. There's another season down the toilet. It's national championship or bust. Fire Reese, fire Golden, fire Freeman. And that's just not me. So I'm on the unpopular opinion side, a lot of this stuff.
Sure. But off of that, with an early season loss, hey, Ohio State, won a national championship 2014, with Urban Meyer. They lost the second game of the season to Virginia Tech in Columbus and won a national championship. I'm not saying this is a national championship team, but in this playoff era that we're in, if, early season loss, you could easily rebound. Alabama did it a few years ago.
They're going to need help.
When they lost, everyone needs help. Alabama, one of Saban's titles, they lost early to Ole Miss in September and rebounded and rallied. So
but they're going to need a lot of help. They don't have the conference championship game, that's a real thing. And you're going to need Ohio State to be damn good, right?
Yeah,
or just, 2 losses.
They are going to be damn good. The Buckeyes are going to be damn good. And the good thing for Notre Dame in this 2022 football season is they're going to play 3 conference champions. Ohio State, Clemson's going to win the ACC. USC is going to win the Pac-12.
When's the last time they won the Pac-12? 16?
Was that 16? I believe 16. Was it? Yeah, it was 16. That real good season. Yeah, I believe so.
Beat Penn State year.
Yeah, I believe so. And then Notre Dame whitewashed them in 17. But you're going to have those guys coming up ahead to boost it. So we'll see. What happens. Hey, real quick. I got a great positive here for our Notre Dame fans, since you brought up Michigan, by the way. I went back, did a little history against AP top 10 since Lou Holtz left. I just want to look at the coaches since Holtz left versus Michigan in AP top 10 games when Michigan's ranked in the top 10. Notre Dame 4 wins, Michigan 3. So Notre Dame's got more wins. So how's that little positive for everyone that hates Michigan? I thought I would throw that out there.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some negatives to throw out there if you want to look at
And our good friend Mike Goolsby's got 2 of those, so cheers to him.
There you go. All right, any more reflections on emotions aside, more of that Coach Hyde hat on? You probably have watched the game 3 or 4 times by now. Any other big point? I know we want to talk about the snap counts, because in our live show after the game, that was something we said we wanted to talk about. Definitely. So we will, but before we get there, is there anything else on your mind, Tim?
Yeah, you always try and, now that we're moving forward and some positives and things of that nature, Marcus Freeman had his guys ready to play right from the get-go. This game was not 14-0 before you blink. They were in there. They came ready to play. Ohio State at home takes an early 7-3 lead, and you're like, oh boy, here it comes. Nope. Notre Dame rallies. They go on that huge 80-plus yard drive, go down, score, take the lead going into halftime. So that's a huge positive. There's some individual players that played, absolutely unreal. Tariq Bracy, we've talked about. Benjamin Morrison at corner. How about Junior Tulialamaka, who's a starter on 3 special teams? 3 special teams as a true freshman. I thought that was awesome. In looking at the replay and seeing him run around all over the place. The O-line struggled as could be, as we know, but according to Pro Football Focus, Joe Alt was ranked, had 80 plus percentile pass blocking. He was like on lockdown mode out there at left tackle. So a great game for him. You know what? And Chris Smith, I mentioned this the other day, that the Harvard transfer was unbelievable. That guy was stout, physical as could be. I enjoyed watching him. And, I didn't give kudos to Riley Mills after the game. I thought he played with a lot of energy, a lot of passion, real physical. He was the highest ranked Notre Dame player on Pro Football Focus on the defense. Played hard, obviously missed some sacks and things of that nature, but there was some positives. I'm sitting there real quick. Audric Estime, I still can't believe he only had 9. And when I watch the game and he has a couple, when he goes downhill, that dude's 1,000-yard tailback. So they got to develop some schemes where he's getting the ball and he's going downtown right now. So physical runner, no counters, no pause, no reading. Give him a gap. Say, Audric, run to the B gap. We're going to double team. And I think he's going to be an absolute stud. And, and I know Tommy Rees gets a ton of junk, rightfully so. He's the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. This is his 3rd season. This is the quarterback he personally recruited, but it wasn't run as much as we think. So, they had 10 drives. 5 of the drives started with a pass. So let's not think it was just run, punt all game long for as much as they did punt. He did come out and was aggressive. And guess what, Mike and Notre Dame fans, is what if he hits Lorenzo Styles that first play of the 3rd quarter, their first opening drive? He hits him there. Styles has got 50-plus yards, maybe turn it and scores. They're up 17-7. They didn't hit it, but they did take the shot on 1st and 10 to start the 3rd quarter. So, we could sit and rehash a million things, but there was a lot of positives from some certain individuals in that game, and the team played its tail off till the end. So we got to look forward and see where this takes them from Marshall moving forward.
Tim, one of the more fascinating things about this game is the lack of snaps that Notre Dame had.
Yes.
So I'm going to pull up on the screen for YouTube audience halftime stats. So Buckner threw 10 passes, completed 8 for 128 yards.
Yeah.
Total plays 28. You had Audric Estime 6 rushes, 18 yards. Tyree 3 for 11. Right. And then you look at the end. Notre Dame only ran 20.
I know.
Second half offensive plays 20. Buckner was 2 for 8. Is that the correct math?
Yeah.
2 for 8 for, what do you have? The Lindsay and the Salerno pass? I can't remember.
Yep. Yeah, the Lindsay at 30 and then the Salerno, yeah.
And no, it looks like Salerno was the first half one.
Oh, that was the first half, gotcha.
So the Lindsay one and then one other. I'm guessing one to Mare, it looks like. And that's it. Two. He completed 2 passes and a half. Estime went from 6 for 18 for 9 for 21. That's second half. So, going back through my first half notes and everything, like I jotted down that Rees called like the perfect game. But yeah, Tim, the second half.
No, I got a couple things right in my head as soon as you're chatting. It's like, there's one play. It's 3rd and 7 in the first half. 3rd and 7. Michael Mayer runs a 6-yard route. They got a punt. It's 4th and 1. It's like, how do you not run the route to the first down sticks? He runs it a yard short. They singled up Michael Mayer into the boundary, which we've talked about for 9 months. He singled up all by himself, and it looks like Mayer runs I didn't think it was a great route. It wasn't a great throw by Buckner, but they had exactly what Rees wanted. Put everyone to the wide side. Mayer's all by himself in the boundary. Come on. If he's going to be a first-round NFL draft choice, Tyler Buckner, you got to complete that pass. So that was a killer. Obviously, the bomb to Styles, it misses by a hair. The Salerno pass interference just felt like just a death knell in a way, because they were rolling. That's Lindsay gets over a 32, 33-yard catch. Chris Tyree runs a beautiful a run play people need to watch. They run counter, old school, the old, John Reagan's Washington Redskins from the 80s. Guard tackle pulls to the right. Tyree gets it by himself going to the left, runs for about 12, 14 yards. Got the mojo going, and then the Salerno PI. But even on that, the first play there, Buckner runs quarterback bash, which is a Urban Meyer staple. Pulling guard to the wide side. It's either a pass or QB duck up the gut. He gets 7-8 yards. But then they go back to Tyree, get 0. That's where I thought, dude, it's 2nd and 18. You got to start thinking 4-down territory. And they ran, punted. And that drive was a killer because they had so much momentum going to go back and take the lead.
All right, Tim's pay some bills. And I hear from one of our new sponsors, Rogue Shop, which is a husband-wife outfit as Mr. Rogue, and I'm popping up for our YouTube audience their website. Mr. Rogan and his wife Shar are craft cannabis farmers who specialize in small batch, sustainable plant medicine, a true holistic type of small business. They farm it and grow it all themselves, do everything by hand, and their website to visit is rogueshop.com. Now, they're, those products that give you that euphoria, but there's a lot more to it. Products have been known to help with anything from anxiety to chronic pain to insomnia. And if you have a question about what a product does, jump on the live chat with the owners. And for YouTube audience, you can see in the bottom right-hand screen, Shar is message saying, hey, I see you're on the site. Like, do you have any questions, to hop in a live chat with her? So I've even received a box of product, and Shar, I have it right next to me here, wrote me, instructions on everything. She knew that this was my, first time, indulging in any of those products. So detailed handwritten instructions for me. And their real goal is holistic healing, making your life better if you suffer from stress or pain. So when you write as many articles as I do, Tim, and do all these YouTube pages, you don't get a lot of sleep. So when you do want sleep, you want to sleep really well, and their products do help with that. So head over to rogueshop.com. All right. So got a super chat, so we'll go ahead and dive into that from Rick Palmer. What about defense? Ohio State's 3rd and 3, and we rush 2 and have 9 in the back. So that was that one that I think CJ Stroud rolled to the right. Does that sound right, Tim? Found a receiver. I believe you found the receiver. Tim, I believe you muted yourself on accident. He found a receiver on the right-hand side, I want to say. And Rick says bad call because quarterback could have run it for a first down.
Yeah, third. I mean, you do something like that, maybe long to drop and flood the zones. It's 3rd and 3. I don't know, things like that. I have so much respect for CJ Stroud. I mean, some of the throws he threw on the run were just freakish, but that play in particular, I wrote down a big note. They dropped 9 on 3rd and 3. So found that interesting. I'm an old school, line up, put your best pass rushers on the ground and go tee off. The more guys you got rushing the front 4 that are dominant, just teeing off, and less 3-3 and things of that nature. Yeah, I'm all for straight. Give me the 2 best wide ends and go crash. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I actually do. That's why I was smiling when I saw the super chat, because I did make a note of that. I found that interesting, which leads me real quick. I know Freeman's a big 3-3 guy. When he was at Cincinnati, the first time they ran the stack 3-3 in the game, Buckeyes ran for 9 yards. So they didn't. It was not good at all.
All right, Mr. Hyde, we're going to pop up those Snapchat. Excuse me. Snapchat.
I hear you, man. It's all over the place.
Do I have any Snapchats? No, Todd Burrell is just watching. He just sent me a text. He saw the Rogue Shop ad and shot me a text about it. He says he loves it. Todd, hope you're doing well, man. So yeah, Tim, we're going to jump into the snap counts discussion. Now,
Sure.
Blue and Gold did a great article. I believe this was Sunday. So this is an article that's a few days old at this point. So folks, go to blueandgold.com, sign up for $1 for 1 year to get the premium access. So you're going to have seen this a few days ago, but Tim will go to it. I mean, this says Buckner with 50 snaps. I want to say that might be including,
false starts.
Yeah, not a false start, but like a holding call that didn't count towards an official play or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll start with offense and then go to defense. Anything stand out to you here? Looking at the snap counts.
Well, I mean, obviously the 2 tailbacks, obviously split carries there. I was stunned how much Kevin Bauman played. I really was. And that goes back to them being a 12 personnel type of a team. If that's what they're going to do, then so be it. So I was really surprised at how much he played in the game. I knew they were going to use him and do some 12, but I was really, really expecting to see a lot more 11 for Buckner to do some of the zone read, the QB, the motions, more of that in a spread look instead of a tight, Bauman and then the Mayor with the wing. So that was the first thing I noticed was, how many plays that Bauman played. And O-line, I mean, Harry Heastan, I mean, he finds 5, he's going to play 5 unless he can't. So that's what he does. So that I expected that up front.
Do you think Wilkins getting 1 snap and Matt Salerno getting 8 is a product of Wilkins coming back from an injury, or do you think it's Salerno they think is the better player right now?
Well, I think Wilkins was out most of camp. I know he was running. There was always reports of him running, doing jogs, sprints off to the side, and with the trainers and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, he's coming back from an injury. I don't think he's game ready. He probably hasn't done the live reps with the offense and things of that nature. So that would be my first instinct when I see something like that. And then with Salerno with 8, on the pass interference, they're in 12 personnel. They were tight end with the wing. Mayer is the wing as he tried running that wheel route from the short motion that he was doing. So him playing 8 snaps is another interesting thing, because is that 8 that took away from Lorenzo Styles? Lorenzo Styles only had 2 targets, I believe, Mike. So that was a huge thing when you look at his snap count to targets. So, and yeah, I mean, Salerno, does he need to play if they're running that much 12 personnel? And if it wasn't 12, they did a lot of true old school 21 with Estime or Diggs at the tail and Tyree as the motion guy, which 2 backs on the field. They did that, a dozen or so times in the game.
Were you surprised at all with the running back snap count? That
No.
I guess that kind of same thing with Diggs is that he was just coming back from injury well. To me, that hampered his time on the field. But Estime out, getting on the field more than Tyree.
Yeah, I mean that was surprising because he's the junior. He's been around a little bit longer. I thought they were going to do some Tyree, trying to run outside zone behind. Fisher on the right side and Joe Alt on the left side and try and run some stretch plays and whatnot. They never did. I think Chris Tyree is really good at that. So, I was a little surprised at that because it seemed like Chris Tyree, most of his plays were slot motions, things of that nature. I have to go back and see exactly how many at tail, but man, he sure didn't line up as a true tailback often.
Yeah, so he got 6 carries for 28 yards, had that 14-yard run.
And a couple of those were jet sweeps.
And then 1 reception for 6 yards. People in comments are not happy about Reese, and that's a fairly common response. I mean, it's just if you lose a game, you usually, especially for Notre Dame, when Notre Dame loses, it's often the offense stunk it up, which was obviously the case in this second half. So people are coming after the offensive coordinator's head. A lot of people asking for screen passes. Do you think that would have made a big difference, Tim?
I talked about this, with yourself and Mike Goolsby on the show Saturday. I actually wrote that down in my notebook when I'm charting plays during the game, was how surprised I was. We did not see Dylan McCullough's influence, I guess I want to say, because he's been with Andy Reid, and Andy Reid is the best screenplay coach in the NFL. I mean, Bill Belichick's talked about him. Every NFL coach, when they prepare for the Chiefs, you always hear him talk about screens, motions, the trick screens, the folding screen, so many different screens. I really was expecting Dylan McCullough to be like, hey, Tommy Reese, here's a dozen of these. Let's find 2 that are good for our kids here. So that blew me away. I was, especially with Ohio State, Heaton running so many twists. They were running tons of twists, which I call 33. You got your D tackles in the B gap and the ends wide, crashing double loop that ends up the A gap. So they're expecting those D ends to be the edge protectors. You could have run screen on them, and they just never tried it.
Tim, can you give us the X's and O's on why screen passes are so important? Whether it's a bubble screen, tunnel screen, tight end screen, your traditional halfback screen. Why is that something that Notre Dame should be incorporating in its offense more?
Well, on your quick passes, your line passes, your bubbles to the slots and whatnot, you're just basically saying this is just an extension of the toss, the outside zone. We're just dumping the football right now to one of our better football players. And that goes back to me saying, why isn't Styles at the slot and run some of those with him? They did last year. Styles got a handful of slots and got some great yards last year. So those are so easy because it's just pitch and catch. And you could do that with tempo. Something obviously Marcus Freeman talked about. He did not want to do any of that. He wanted to suck the air out of the ball and just drain clock and not go fast. But if you do just a little tempo at times, Ohio State's not a huge tempo team, but they did it a couple times on Saturday and had some really good success. So it's just a quick dump. And then when the O-line is struggling, I mean, come on, let's be real. Zeke Correll, Andrew Kristofic, Josh Lugg, the interior were struggling with pass protection, and 51 was just bull rushing guys backwards like it was a sled. That's when you dump a screen, ease those guys up a little bit, because Fisher, Alt were really good in just one-on-one pass rush, blocking D ends. They were outstanding, and you just let those guys right upfield, dump a screen underneath them. So the answer to that question is, yeah, I was surprised we did not see a little Kansas City Chiefs screen game in that ball game.
Going back to my boy Todd Burlage, shot me a text and says, does Tim think that the Ohio State offense was overly conservative? I thought OSU kept Notre Dame in the game because of that.
No, I thought Notre Dame made some great plays. I thought that's going back to their DBs were so aggressive on the ball, attacking the ball, attacking wide receivers. But to back up a little bit, I mentioned this a week ago when we started getting the predictions and the X and O's with the receivers was everyone. Yes, you got CJ Stroud and Henderson at tailback, and Smith is the wide receiver who they knocked out early. Every other skill guy they got is brand new. People are just acting like they're just going to roll out the red carpet and everyone's going to be, the next NFL first-round draft choice at Ohio State. But these are all young dudes. Now they're talented as could be. The main guy that, Mbuka, however you say his last name, is that dude's legit. So was it conservative or was it they were breaking in some new guys as well? And they are an 11 personnel team, and Stover is not the tight end that they've had in the past. He's not a receiving threat. So he's really a fullback. He's a glorified blocker. And don't forget, for as good as Notre Dame played on defense, Ohio State was missing its two best wide receivers now. Smith, and obviously Justin Fleming did not play in the game, and he was tearing up camp from some of the YouTube stuff I was watching during training camp preparing for the game. So, and he was held out. But it's a great question when you talk about were they conservative? No, I just thought they did what they had. And if anything, they realized they could pound the rock on Notre Dame. They dominated the trenches. And I remember we're putting on our notes during our game, Mike. I wrote at halftime to you and Mike Goolsby, if Ryan Day just quits passing the ball, they win this game by 2 touchdowns. That's all they had to do is run the ball. They were dominant up front. And it shows in the run game efficiency. Mike, Ohio State was 77% run game. 77%, 4 yards or more every single carry. Notre Dame, 43. I mean,
Irish.
double.
Yeah, looking at the rushing stats.
Crazy.
We'll go sack adjusted rushing yards. Notre Dame 95 and Ohio State 177.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you including the sacks, which doesn't change Ohio State's rushing yards much because Notre Dame only sacked Stroud once. Ohio State was 35 for 172 and a touchdown, and Notre Dame was 30 rushes, 76 yards, and 1 touchdown. So we have another super chat from Rick Palmer, and then we're going to get into defensive snap counts. Rick says, I like the I formation call caused some confusion on the Ohio State defense, forced Ryan Day to call timeout. Should they use that more often?
Well, I mean, in college football, if you're going to go the I, if you're going to go true 21 personnel, 2 backs, and obviously a true tight end, you're going to get, especially against a team like Ohio State that's got corners that are, Ohio State played man like crazy and just put dudes on islands out there. You're going to get 9-man fronts. You're going to get safeties up in the box. So you're going to have to account for that and develop a pass game off of, playing man quarters is basically what you would see. 2 safeties playing tight and the 2 corners playing man. But I don't think Notre Dame's going to go to the I formation because Mike Singer knows this better than anyone. What's that going to do for recruiting if all of a sudden Notre Dame starts running the I formation? Guys like the I formation when they're getting paid in the NFL. Okay. In college, they don't like the I formation.
Yeah, not too many fullbacks Notre Dame's going to be recruiting, although they do have one on scholarship now, David Sherwood, who got a snap. Also, a random note, Eli Raridan went in a goal line situation, then the timeout was called, and then he didn't go back in. But Just wanted to note that real quick. Let's go to another sponsor here, which is the Leprechauns Game Day at Notre Dame, which is inspired by former Notre Dame Leprechaun Mike Brown. It's an officially licensed children's book that describes the beautiful pageantry of a football Saturday at Notre Dame. Follow the Leprechaun on an adventure from step off into the tunnel and onto Notre Dame's field as he leads the team to an Irish victory. Filled with delightful illustrations that bring the magic of Notre Dame's campus to life for young readers, this charming read-aloud picture book is a celebration of true fighting Irish spirit and the perfect gift for Notre Dame alumni families and fans of all things Irish. Tim, I believe you picked up a copy too, right, my friend? Mr. Hyde?
I'm
Hyde.
sorry, muted during the commercial.
It's usually definitely. I do that, but
it's going to be the kids' little Christmas gift under the leprechaun tree this year. So don't say anything.
All right, I'll try not to. Yes, Irish fans, visit lepgame.com, lepgame.com, and enter code BG22 to get your author signed copy today. lepgameday.com. So there you have it, Irish fans. Let's get into those defensive snap counts. What stood out to you here, Tim? Because I feel like there's a lot to unpack.
Number one, the 50-50 reps at Viper at the rush end with Foskey and Justin Adamiola. Now I know Justin Adamiola is out there sometimes with Foskey in some of the packages and whatnot. So found that interesting. So when you go Ohio State with, take out the kneels, 65 snaps, let's say, Foskey's on the bench for 25 snaps. I just find that interesting sometimes when I see that, because here's a guy who's a first-team AP All-American this season, preseason, first-round, projections, all these things. You know what, Isaiah Foskey, you get a break at Christmas. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You're playing the number 2 team in the country on the road. Play him. Notre Dame rotates so much sometimes, and it's like, just let the dudes play. I mean, we talk about Matt Bayless and the strength program and how he's built Notre Dame up, rightfully so. Let the guys that are the dudes play. Will Anderson ain't taking 25 snaps off in a 2 versus 5 game. I guarantee you that. So Notre Dame rotates a ton. And just real quick, vice versa, off of that with the Buckeyes, their front rotated. Their safeties never came off the field. The corners played every snap. 2 out of the 3 safeties played every snap. And Tommy Eichenberg, who Notre Dame did not recruit, by the way, just won National Defensive Player of the Week today. Liam's little brother never came off the field playing Mike Backer, and their wheels were exactly 50-50 reps. So that was a biggie. Same thing with Brandon Joseph. 20 snaps, he's not on the field. That was believe it or not, that was the first one I went to. I want to see what Brandon Joseph did, because I was really impressed with him. And I'm not the highest guy on him. I'm not going out there going crazy over him. I wanted to see him in a Notre Dame uniform to be like, is this warranted what he did at Northwestern? And I thought he played outstanding. I really did. So that guy needs to be on the field a ton. So, and the other safeties, Houston Griffith had one more than DJ Brown. I found that a little interesting as well, because, I don't know how good those guys really play, to tell you the truth. It was good. I mean, they played good as a unit, but I thought the corners really played exceptional.
So 69 snaps for Ohio State on the night. So you're just saying, like, what do these numbers mean? The Buckeyes, which I'll pull up stats for YouTube again, you can see total plays. Notre Dame's 48 to Ohio State 69. So Notre Dame's leading snap count player on defense was Tariq Bracy, who Tim called the best defensive player on the field for the Irish. Tim, for this secondary going into the game, you had said that the nickel, how Notre Dame would look at nickel is a really key part of the game. I didn't get a I didn't get a rewatch of the game, Tim. So I'm having problems remembering. Did Clarence and was it Clarence and Cam staying outside, and then Tariq played in the slot? Yep. Where did Ben Morrison get all of his snaps? Because he played 29, which is a lot for a true freshman just got here in the summer.
A ton. And all his snap was when the game mattered, basically. Not that it mattered in the first quarter, but you know what I mean? Like as the game wore on, he was getting in there. Ben Morrison was out there while the other corners were rotating. It was almost like a round robin in a way. Morrison would be out there with Lewis, then Morrison with Hart. It was a little bit of a rotation like that in a way. So Ben Morrison played a ton. Even Mickey got out there a few as they started to rotate those guys a handful. So that's kind of how the corner rotation went. He was out there while the upperclassmen were rotating and taking a blow, and then Morrison would come out and they would go the older guys out there. But Bracy was the true nickel. Never, they didn't. Notre Dame was not in no 3 linebacker packages except for a goal line and end of the game. The last couple snaps, big deal. Game was over. So they definitely lived in their nickel. True 2 linebackers played, which, what is it? Leah Fow and JD Bertrand played the most. That was it. Put that back up real quick, Mike. I think did Bertrand have like double? Right? Yeah, exactly. 20 more snaps than Bo Bauer, who's the team captain. Was a team captain. Bo Bauer only played 25 of nearly 70 snaps as a team captain. That's an interesting statistic I noticed as well when looking at this.
Yeah, I'm just thinking these past few years, there's always that one true freshman who just kind of is the surprise performer. Like Clarence Lewis was that in 2020 and Joe Alt in 2021. And both of those guys enrolled in the summer. They were not early entrants who got 15 spring practices. Ben Morrison got to Notre Dame in June, if I'm not mistaken. And it seems like he's already on track for that. We thought it was going to be Jaden Mickey, but I think the media kind of fell in love with Mickey in the spring, seeing him, and kind of had some, let his hair down, as Mike Goolsby always says. But Ben Morrison, I think it's going to be him. You want to add any additional thoughts on Morrison?
No, I talked about it Saturday night after the game. He looked like an SEC corner. And when I say SEC corner, I'm talking about his length, his attitude, his mannerisms, the way he walked, the way he was talking to the Buckeyes out there, like, let's play ball. He was just so hyped, so excited. Well, rightfully so. He's a true freshman playing in Columbus, right? So, yeah, he's hyped up times 10. But he looked the part. He looked the part. He looked like a dude that Notre Dame really hasn't had a guy like that at corner. Obviously Julian Love, Troy Pride, guys like that. I mean, Notre Dame's had good corners, don't get me wrong. But as a true freshman out there, acting, walking like he was, no, he was a dude. And you know why Washington, which has sent a ton of DBs to the NFL, wanted him so bad. And Nick Saban in Alabama recruited the heck out of him. He's got the pedigree, as we've talked about, his family and his father as part of that great Desert Swarm defense, University of Arizona, and Coach Dick Tomey in the early 90s. Ben Morrison's a dude, no doubt about it. I loved watching that guy play.
All right, last segment of the night is we're going to give our revised season score predictions, or season record, I should say. Tim, what was yours before the Ohio State game?
I didn't do game by game prediction, but I said if Notre Dame wins, they're going 12-0. I truly believe that. Now that they've lost.
What was it before? So you thought 12-0?
I thought they were going to beat the Buckeyes. I really did. I thought Notre Dame was going to have a magical season. I really did. I thought this was going to be, it's 2022. I thought it was going to be 2012. Thought Notre Dame was going to run the table. I just did. They got big games at home, and Notre Dame historically, obviously they lost in 64. Don't get me wrong. They've had a few games, but when Notre Dame goes on the road in LA, when it matters, tradition says that they do win. And I thought they would do that.
All right, let's look at what's next for Notre Dame. This weekend is Marshall, which we're 49 minutes in. We haven't talked about them yet. Tim and I will do our final thoughts and predictions video, which will run Friday morning, where we'll talk about the Thundering Herd. Notre Dame's 3 touchdown favorite on. We also interviewed a beat writer who covers Marshall, and that posted to Blue and Gold earlier today. So plenty of preview content there, as well as an update on Notre Dame following Marcus Freeman's press conference. We'll have that with Tyler Horka tomorrow afternoon. So Marshall 2:30 p.m. this Saturday. Cal next week, same time, inside Notre Dame Stadium, going at North Carolina the 24th, TBD on the game time there. BYU 7:30 in Vegas. Notre Dame Stadium hosts Stanford 7:30 October 15th. UNLV comes to the stadium the 22nd, and I'm not going to read all of this. Syracuse, Clemson, Navy, Boston Gold. You guys know the schedule. Long way to ask, Tim. What do you think?
Coming out of Ohio State, first off, Marcus Freeman needs a win. Okay, that guy needs to have a post-game beer with his coaches after that.
Not play an OSU. Don't play another OSU. It's not a good omen. No Oregon State. Don't play the Beavs.
Yeah, I mean, that guy needs a win. Okay, so I'm telling you, moving forward, it's right there. If they have a loss, I'm right here with Joey. I love it, Joey. 11 over. It's right there. If Notre Dame, I mean, the game's the Clemson. Well, the game's really the Brigham Young game. Tell you the truth. But if Notre Dame is not 7-1 going into that Clemson game, then you're definitely looking at a 9-3 type of a football season, which is going to be a drag. I mean, they're going to be playing in. I always say the Cheetos Bowl or the Mayo Bowl, since those are so popular. But they're going to be in one of those. And they obviously got to win this game at UNC is going to be a biggie because there's obviously they're going to be offense Mac Brown, but there's no reason why they should not win these next few games, get healthy, get ready, figure out what they want to do. Figure out what they want to do on offense. That's going to be the big thing. And my thing on the offense is Marcus Freeman. This is stuck in my head since the post game where Freeman talked about the 3 running backs you brought up, Mike. They had different packages for every single running back, which as a football coach, I'm like, so that means you got 3 different offenses? Find an offense and what's your identity and stick to it and run it. Quit. Well, we're going to do this with Tyree. We're going to do this with Dick. No, what is your offense? Figure it out and go attack. If you're going to be 12 personnel, be 12 personnel. Find your 2 best wide receivers and let's go attack downhill run game. No problem if that's what they want to do. So, no issues with that, but figure it out. So they got to get to BYU. BYU's senior laden, loaded, great quarterback, a lot of good football players, but Notre Dame's got better football players than everybody on this roster until they play Clemson.
Schedule, yeah.
I mean, they do until they play Clemson. Clemson's D is a freak show. They are fast as molasses. I mean, they are fast, man. Those dudes run. That's going to be a hell of a football game, but it's at home. And do you really think DJ ain't going to have the year he had in 2020? And who knows if Clay Klubnik ain't going to be the quarterback. So who knows? But I'm going to stick with I'm going to go 11-1, and I think Notre Dame's going to be right at that 4-5 marker. I do.
So if I say 10-2, am I going to get shit from Notre Dame Nation?
Hey, what did I tell you, Mike? 10-2 is a cop out. Going forward, it's 9.
I have
9-3 or 11-1.
Do you see this long? This is Tim Hyde text message for YouTube audience. This is what I say. Hey Tim, what do you want to talk about?
There you go.
He says, "Is 9 and I was about to read that comment you just said. Is 9-3? Is it a 9-3 or an 11-1 team after USC? 10-2 is a cop out. Ha 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 ha. What do you mean by that?
Because it's easy. People, they're going to go 10-2, saying you're going to lose to Clemson, beat SC. You're going to beat Clemson, lose to SC. It's one of those. I don't know. I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys. You're either battling for the playoffs or you're going to the Cheetos Bowl to play South Carolina, let's say, and they're a hyped up coach. So I'm one of those guys. 10-2 is a cop out. Pick one or the other.
That's ridiculous.
Is Notre Dame going to lose one of these games? Don't forget, Marshall. If they beat Marshall, that'll be 43 straight wins over unranked football teams. The number 1 streak in the country right now. Is that going to come crashing down in Marcus Freeman's first year? I say no, because I'm going back to my preseason rankings of saying this team has too many seniors, too many upperclassmen playing to not just rally, especially after the way they just played their tails off in Columbus. There's no excuses moving forward.
All right, so we have exhausted all of the things we were going to talk about. Sam, we have to talk.
Sure.
With these last 5 minutes, we got to talk Brian Kelly.
Oh,
and old Brian Polian having a crappy game as LSU special teams. Was it 2 muff punts and then the game time extra point blocked? What'd you make of old Bayou Brian's loss to the Seminoles? Which he beat them in a season opener a year ago at Notre Dame, and then goes to LSU and is playing it in his own backyard and loses. And Notre Dame fans, go ahead and drop your comments and let us know what you thought too.
Well, number one, that was literally two teams that didn't know how to win a game. I mean, FSU turnover in the red zone multiple times. I think the first half, and I mean, you run toss. The game is over, and they're running toss. The guy fumbles it, and then Florida State has literally the worst prevent defense in the history of college football. Daniels was a mess at Arizona State. That guy is up and down like crazy out of Cajon, California. Great California high school quarterback, but he has just been hit or miss at ASU. And I mean, he looked like John Elway going down there, just picking everyone apart, taking them on the drive to beat the Cleveland Browns in the 80s. But that was wild. And I'll be honest with you, I was mad because I was like, darn, beat them. They're going to go to OT. Brian Kelly's going to win this thing and celebrate and talk about how awesome his is and his team's resolve and all that good, the traits and everything he likes to get hyped about until they lose to a top 10 team. And for that guy to block the kick is epic. I want to get a picture of that. I'm going to get a fat head of that in my room up here. I already told my wife I want that picture on the wall as we're decorating a couple of rooms upstairs. And I want that. But the Brian Kelly after the game is the best. It's the best. It's the blame game, the 447 excuses. And then real quick, the press conference yesterday with that girl, the female reporter. The female reporter is, coming in there and I listened to it multiple times and I was like, oh my gosh, she literally said that because you see the thing and she's a beat writer or whatever. And she said that. That was awesome.
Let me give context what Tim's saying. So Kelly is, and the lady tweeted it out that it was 11:57 that she walked in there. And the press conference started at 12. So I guess Kelly was a few minutes early.
Yeah.
And Kelly made a comment. And I've watched so many Brian Kelly press conferences, in the past few years. And so I know he was joking when he made a comment to her saying,
yeah,
you're walking in late, like whatever. And it just wasn't funny. It was like, man, last year he makes the execution comment. And then this year you have this. So it's just always something with Kelly in these openers. And then she claps back and said, if you would have won, I would have, been here on time, which is a Bush League thing to say by her for sure. But Kelly and his humor, like I've personally, again, Notre Dame fans, for me, I'm just always honest with you guys.
Yeah.
This is not a popular opinion I'm about to give. I find Kelly funny. I like his humor. To me, I like that dry humor. I do. It's not funny, and it's kind of like that stupid dad joke. I love those. I do. So I found it funny, but I understand that most people don't, and so it wasn't funny to her. Yeah. And she felt like she was getting attacked, and she clapped back. So
I don't know the backstory. Is she a longtime reporter? Has she covered Brian? I have no idea. But when I saw that,
clearly, she can't have covered him that long. Same as everyone else, at least.
No, I hear you.
Got there, but
I was like,
but I know she did tweet that. She apologized and she said it wasn't the right thing to do. It was just kind of an in the moment thing. I would just imagine what the rest of that press conference is like for her sitting there. What that experience must have been.
Well, real quick, I thought they would have cut that out. So I went to the LSU football page last night.
Go on there
on YouTube. That's part of the official press conference. He's sitting there chatting, and then she comes in late, and he makes that comment. I'm like, oh, I thought this was just a little side video someone did before the. Like, that's part of the press conference. That's on their YouTube page, on their video, which I found fascinating. But one last thing on the game. I know 99.999% of Notre Dame people, love to attack Polian and stuff like that. I love Polian because he personally went and got Manti Te'o. So let's give him kudos to bringing in Manti Te'o and the whole. Brian Polian recruited the heck out of Hawaii. Notre Dame's had great Hawaiians that have come into South Bend. But the fact that they literally changed their blocking scheme on that PAT that's been reported. They changed it earlier to fix a few things. They moved a guy from left to right. And then the FSU guy says, no one blocked me. They said it was a giant hole. No one blocked me. And I was just like, that is the ultimate Brian Kelly, Brian Pullian love affair right there.
So I've never been a special teams coach, but you have 9 blockers against 11 rushing, right? But it's quick to kick it.
Yes.
So all we have to do is stop the straightest line folks to get there.
Yeah.
And then make the edge people go wide, right? That's what you get. You got to push them wide. And what did they do? They focused on the wide guy and let someone run right to the kicker. So dumb.
That was an excellent. That's a good way to end the show. That was just a wild game.
Is a great way to end the show is a big old super chat. So
there we go.
Definitely appreciate it. Thoughts on Audric Estime and Howard Cross versus Ohio State? I really loved how both played. We'll be better. Bank on that. So Cross defensive stats. He had the big one.
Yes.
He had a sack. Notre Dame's lone sack of the day, and then had 2 more or 3 total tackles.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Cross.
Yeah.
And then Estime.
Yeah, Howard Cross just plays. That guy just plays relentless, ton of energy. He cares each and every snap. So you just see it on film. He was overwhelmed sometimes because those Buckeyes, he looked really small inside on some of the wide shots and stuff like that. Those Buckeyes are some big dudes, man. And you know what? But he played his tail off. He goes so hard, and his game is penetration. He was forcing some double teams a lot of times on especially the outside zones and stuff like that. So Howard Cross is going to have a heck of a senior year and be one of the main interior disruptors. And that was the big thing they didn't have in the Ohio State game outside of the 1 sack by Howard is they had no TFLs on the run game. So Howard Cross and Jason Adamiola and the rest of the guys need to step it up and really get some big push moving forward here as they get ready for, the big road game at UNC and obviously the biggie in Las Vegas against Brigham Young. And those dudes are all 6'6", 325. They're monsters. And thoughts on Estime? I've said it since Saturday night. Let that guy get 18, 22 carries and let him come downhill. He is, I know he didn't have the greatest yards per carry because he was getting hit. I think Patrick Engel posted on our message board 63% of the runs. It was just like last year again. It was replaying 2021. 63% of the runs, the running backs were getting hit on the line of scrimmage or behind again. So that was a frustrating thing. But when he goes downhill, I'm going to let that dude run 18 times a game. Seriously. They got some backs. Let him get 18, 20 carries. He's a stud.
Yeah, so Truman's wearing a New York Jets jersey there.
Jets, huh?
Estime is like, I want to say where he's from is like it's on a New Jersey, New York border. So I'm guessing there's that's your connection. Truman, I want to say you message me on Twitter a lot. So I really appreciate the support. If you got any more questions, you just fire them my way, man. I'll try to answer. And I really do appreciate the super chat. So Tim, any closing thoughts before we pop out of here?
No, Notre Dame needs to win. Notre Dame needs to win. Notre Dame needs to go in obviously the house that Newt Rockne built, and they need to win a football game. They have not won. It's funny. Obviously, we talk about the bowl in Columbus. They haven't won a football game since Stanford. I know it's the last game of the regular season, but it's a lot of days ago, right? And
Brian Kelly was coaching the team.
What's that?
Brian Kelly was coaching.
Exactly. Stanford, Thanksgiving weekend. So Notre Dame needs the win. These guys need to feel the win to get the Fiesta Bowl out of the way. So close against Ohio State, and they need to get a win and get this ship right and get themselves on a playoff run. I truly believe this football team could do it.
All right, folks, before you get out of here, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, blueandgold.com. Really appreciate everyone watching to the end here or listening. You guys have a great rest of your day. And as always, we'll catch you next time.